when we have to ask, are we going to just keep quarantining ourselves on and off? Remember what Knut said. The only reason we're going to have a second surge is if we did the wrong thing and stopped ourselves from getting to herd immunity. It almost sounds like that was the plan, to not have herd immunity. Interesting. I think I heard Dr. Fauci say exactly that.
We go through multiple cycles of influenza. There's always a degree of background immunity in the population. I mean, that will ultimately happen if we get a situation where we get back to normal. Now, I hope we don't have so many people infected that we actually have that herd immunity, but I think it would have to be different than it is right now.
I hope we don't get to that herd immunity. Are you kidding me? Is that actually a goal of the medical professionals right now? And why would that be the goal? What else is there other than herd immunity? Is lockdown? Is quarantine? That's the only other choice we have. So are you saying you don't want herd immunity, Dr. Fauci? That you don't want to follow in China's footsteps? We want to stay locked down? No, instead of hearing about getting out there, getting schools back online, doing what Sweden did, do what Austria is now showing that worked out, in Denmark, that are all getting back online, in China. No, we have this other approach, and you're trying to tell us it's the right way. But here's the problem. You're acting like there's a savior out there, like that there's something supposed to work, that's something instead of herd immunity. Why would we want to block herd immunity? Is it possible that we want a vaccine? Is that what this is all about? I mean, this is a conversation that I'm seeing happen. Just take a look at what they're telling us we're supposed to be waiting for. Listen to this very quickly.
When will a corona vaccine be ready? A vaccine that enables us to resume our lives without restrictions while protecting us from the disease.
The only thing that will really allow life as we once knew it to resume is a vaccine.
We should be and are and will be making a universal corona vaccine. To me, that's the best long-term goal for this.
This is a whole new era for making vaccines, and one that's emphasizing speed.
What we need is to make vaccines for 1 billion people, and we need to make that as quickly as possible.
Vaccines won't be ready overnight. They will take months.
Probably 14, 15, 16 months.
At least 12 to 18 months away.
Until we have a vaccine.
Until we get a vaccine.
A new hope for a vaccine.
That's how long strict rules will be in place across the state.
It is fair to say things won't go back to truly normal until we have a vaccine that we've gotten out to basically the entire world.
Things won't go back to normal until we have a vaccine for the entire world. Sounds like they're back to normal in China. Sounds like they're going back to normal in Denmark and Austria, hold on, and probably in Sweden also. So only for us, for those places like Australia, where I'm hearing that the Prime Minister might lock down all of Australia until there's a vaccine available, this coronavirus social distancing to stay until vaccine is found. Are you ready for that, folks? Is that what we're waiting for? See, here's what's starting to bother me, and it was really exemplified. I had a friend of mine text me, and he's a chiropractor by trade, and he said, my own mother-in-law, look what she texted, and she basically said that, you know, my husband and I are going to get the COVID-19 vaccine, and if you don't get the COVID-19 vaccine, you're not allowed in our house. You see, the problem I have with that, and what I said to my friend is, she might as well been writing, we are going to get a unicorn for COVID-19, and if you don't believe in unicorns, then you're not allowed in our house. See, I don't care how dreamy it is or special it is that you have an idea for a vaccine. Here's the point. There is no vaccine in existence, right? It does not exist. You can attack chloroquine and drugs that do exist, which makes no sense, but our salvation is in something that doesn't exist? I mean, think about that. The mythological beauty of this thing, this chance and hope that sits out there in the future is really a vaccine unicorn. That's what we're waiting for. Folks, this is not how science is done. Science is not based on wishful thinking. It's not based on dreams and hopes. It's based on things that are tangible and facts. And though I have nothing against by the way, someone trying to create a vaccine or some way to protect people who may need it, that tiny percentage of people that are having a very acute and serious reaction to this illness. I do want to see it safe. I do want it to take its time to go through studies. But guess what? Before it even becomes a policy in this government, and certainly being spoken about by the heads of our health department that are setting policy of whether I get in and out of my home, it better actually exist. Right? Are we locked down for a mythological figure? We are. In fact, this is not only something that doesn't exist, it happens to be one of the most difficult vaccines ever attempted. That is exemplified by the very scientists that have been attempting to make this thing over the last several years. Here's some of their own sound bites.
The issue of safety, something that I want to make sure the American public understand. It's not only safety when you inject somebody and they get maybe an idiosyncratic reaction, they get a little allergic reaction, they get pain. There's safety associated. Does the vaccine make you worse? And there are diseases in which you vaccinate someone, they get infected with what you're trying to protect them with, and you actually enhance the infection. So the worst possible thing you could do is vaccinate somebody to prevent infection and actually make them worse.
Dr. Fauci says he thinks this could be done as early as 12 to 18 months. That's really optimistic. Do extensive testing of this vaccine before you put it out there into millions of people, because I think there now is this kind of break the glass mentality of full speed ahead, cut the corners you need to cut. And I really, really, really hope we don't do that, because especially for a vaccine that you may be giving to tens of millions of people or more.
Vaccines have to be tested because there's precedent for vaccines to actually make diseases worse. And you really don't want to make it, you don't want to rush and treat 1 million people and find out you're making 900,000 of them worse.
One of the things that we're not hearing a lot about is the unique potential safety problem of coronavirus vaccines. This was first found in the early 1960s with respiratory syncytial virus vaccines. Some of those kids who got the vaccine actually did worse, and I believe there were 2 deaths in the consequence of that study. Because what happens with certain types of respiratory virus vaccines, you get immunized, and then when you get actually exposed to the virus, you get this kind of paradoxical immune enhancement phenomenon. And we don't entirely understand the basis of it, but we recognize that it's a real problem for certain respiratory virus vaccines. That killed the RSV program for decades. Now the Gates Foundation is taking it up again. But when we started developing coronavirus vaccines, and our colleagues, we noticed in laboratory animals that they started to show some of the same immune pathology that resembled what had happened 50 years earlier. So we said, oh my God, this is going to be problematic.
It's very, very problematic, and we covered all of the details of these animal studies that Dr. Peter Hotez and Dr. Fauci are referencing in a show many weeks back. So if you want to get the truth on that, again, all you had to be doing is watching The High Wire. I hope you watched really the last 5 or 6 episodes around coronavirus, because you'll see that in the animal trials, the animals got more sick. Many died, cytokine storms, a horrible reaction to the actual virus after it looked like the vaccine was perfectly safe. This is a serious problem. There's also another problem. Not only have most of scientists bailed out on making a coronavirus vaccine that we're now all waiting for, the vaccine unicorn, to show up, this is also the first ever mRNA vaccine using our RNA. This has been attempted now since the early 1990s. They have been trying to make a vaccine that uses a totally different approach. It doesn't just submit and trying to get antibodies. It tries to go into your cells. It tries to go in there and trick your cells into believing it's getting a messaging from the DNA through what's called the messaging RNA, that the DNA is telling it, create these proteins to protect yourself. Folks, they are spelunking into a place in the immune system they have never gone before, and they failed at it since the 1990s. So this is a very, very difficult situation. Almost as bad as that storm you can probably hear outside of the studio right now that's thundering and raining. So let me make this final point. Though it is perfectly noble, I guess, to sit at home and dream about unicorns and things that might save us in the future, I read a story just like that to my 6-year-old daughter last night. But that is not how science is done. That is not how you run world economies. It is certainly not how you handle the United States of America. We cannot wait for a unicorn. And what happens if the unicorn finally arrives and it looks more like this? Would you like to have the ability to opt out if that's what they present to you? I mean, this is the truth, folks. Science is real. Math are facts. Numbers are able to be graphed. Let's get to the real numbers. Do not let public officials now and some idea that we're all in this together and that all science agrees that we should have locked down and that all science is showing you that that is the answer. In fact, I think we are learning a much different lesson here. And I think we should listen to Knut Wittkowski when we think about how we're going to move forward. At some point, those of us that are healthy are going to have to get this illness. That is the only way to herd immunity until that ugly or pretty unicorn arrives. And frankly, I'm not going to sit in my house and wait for it. So what do? I suggest we take the trillions of dollars in severance packages to the United States of America and cut out a few $billion. And let's go and make sure that every senior center in the country has the ability to lock itself down the next time we have a viral outbreak like this, so that those people can be protected. And let's have a severance package that pays those doctors and nurses a little bit more money, since they're going to be locked in with their patients until the 3 or 4 weeks are up, where the rest of us experience a common cold and have achieved herd immunity. Now, you may not like that idea. Maybe you want to wait for a unicorn, and this is the United States of America. But wouldn't an intelligent society be working on multiple fronts towards an outcome that could save us? Not just one, the only one that doesn't exist as we know it? Sounds like someone else is seconding my point. I hope we're still alive. But let me say this. There is a better way forward. It's called herd immunity. We're watching it happen all around the world. This is just a flu based on the numbers and most of the scientists and mathematicians that are talking about this. Just because 2 of the virologists and MDs that are speaking to America are telling us not to listen to it, maybe saying that that is false information, or maybe that it's a conspiracy. Conspiracies are not run by top mathematicians and scientists. They are not the health department of Italy that said to us 88% of our cases did not die from COVID. They died to their comorbidities. Folks, we need herd immunity. We need to get it now. That may mean locking down those that are sick right now. By the way, if respirators was our hope, we now know that that may have been the wrong approach altogether, and that was the only thing we were worried about actually running out of. We've always had plenty of beds, and we definitely have great doctors. Let's let them get back to work. Let's let all of us get back to work. Let's move towards sanity, using math and science as a benefit. And more of that is going to be coming by the boatloads, like the rain outside. I'll see you next week on The High Wire.
Thanks for watching, and thank you for being a High Wire insider. Be sure to share this show with your friends on Facebook, YouTube, Periscope, and Instagram, because knowledge is power, power is freedom, and we need all we can get. Did you notice that this show doesn't have any commercials? I'm not selling you diapers or vitamins or smoothies or gasoline. That's because I don't want corporate sponsors telling us what to investigate and what to say. Instead, you're our sponsors. This is a production by our nonprofit, the Informed Consent Action Network. If you want more investigations, more hard-hitting news, if you want the truth, go to ICanDecide.org and donate now.